Welcome to Shatter.
I might steal your wife. He said it twice. And the second time, she smiled. Not at him. Not at the joke. At me. And something about that smile made me sit still. It was a house party. Just 10 of us. Grilled food. Craft beers. Background music and old friends talking too loud over each other. The kind of night where laughter bounces off the walls like no one has anything to hide. But not this time. Not tonight. Tonight, the laughter hit different. Especially hers. She was sitting on the couch, red wine in hand, legs crossed, laughing just a little too loud at a man who didn't belong on that side of the room. Jason, friend of a friend. Too confident. Too familiar. She tucked her hair behind her ear, the way she does when she wants to feel seen. And I saw everything. He raised his beer, looked around like he was hosting the damn party, then pointed at her. Careful, he said. I might just steal your wife. People laughed. The way people laugh when they don't know they're standing in the middle of someone else's breaking point. And then she said it. Too late. Laughed. Sipped. Eyes on mine. Not a joke. Not a slip. A message. That's when I went quiet. Not the kind of quiet that waits for an explanation. The kind of quiet that means, I'm done listening. I didn't say a word. Didn't glare. Didn't grab my keys and storm out. That would have made it about pride. And this? This wasn't about pride. This was about clarity. And clarity is quiet. We left the party hand in hand. She hummed along to the radio, talked about how fun the night was, how we should host next time. I nodded, but in my mind, I was already erasing her. Not in anger, not in revenge, in precision. When we got home, she changed into pajamas and crawled into bed like she hadn't just lit the match. I stood in the hallway, lights off, door half open, just watching her sleep. And I realized something. This wasn't the first crack. It was just the one I finally heard. You don't rebuild trust from silence. You don't laugh about infidelity in a room full of witnesses and call it just a joke. That laugh was a confession. And the way she looked at me, that was her forgetting who I am. So now, I'm going to remind her. Not with yelling. Not with begging. Not with fists on tables or slamming doors. With distance. With strategy. With patience. Because the moment she laughed at him, she gave me permission to disappear. And when I leave, it won't be with a bang. It'll be with nothing. She didn't notice the silence. Not right away. But silence is like frost. You don't feel the damage until it's already under your skin. The next morning, she was still glowing, humming, spinning around the kitchen like she was starring in some rom-com only she could hear. I had the weirdest dream, she said, laughing as she buttered her toast. You punched Jason. I smiled. Sounds unrealistic, right? You're not the jealous type. She kissed my cheek. You're the calm one. She always said that like it was a compliment. Like calm meant I'd never leave. Like silence was the same as loyalty. That day at work, I skipped lunch. Sat in the break room, staring at my phone, replaying her words over and over. Too late. Was it a joke? Maybe. But a woman doesn't look her husband in the eye when she says it, unless she's daring him to flinch. That night, I came home late. Didn't text. Didn't explain. She was already curled up on the couch, her legs tucked under her in that fleece robe I used to love. You okay? She asked. Long day. I dropped my bag by the door. Sat down, but not next to her. On the opposite end of the couch. She didn't push. She thought it was just stress. But it wasn't stress. It was strategy. The next 3 days, I moved different. I didn't hold her hand when we walked through the grocery store. Didn't ask how her day went. Didn't offer to do the dishes. Just existed. She laughed a little less. Talked a little more. Tried to pull me back with memories. You remember that lake house? The one where we got caught in the rain. I nodded. Good weekend, I said. But my voice didn't carry warmth. It carried closure. That Friday, I stayed at the office an extra 2 hours. Parked in a diner lot. Didn't even go in. Just sat in the dark with the engine off, hands on the wheel, wondering. How long until she realizes I'm already leaving? By the time I got home, she was asleep. Or pretending to be. Either way, the light in the hallway was still on, the one she always left for me. Like a lighthouse. Like home still meant something. I walked past it. Straight to the guest room. Closed the door. And that was the first night I chose distance over dialogue. She'd feel it soon. Not in words. Not in a fight. But in space. In moments. In the growing silence that no longer asked to be broken. In silence, when chosen by a man who used to speak. That's the loudest scream she'll ever hear. She started trying harder. Not in the let's talk this through kind of way. No. She went for the optics. Dinners. Back rubs. Little kisses on my shoulder when I wasn't asking for them. Just checking in, she'd say, like I was the one who had drifted off. But the funny thing about broken things? Once you see the cracks, no amount of paint covers them. You just learn how to stop pretending they're not there. I played along. Smiled at her attempts. Answered just enough to keep the illusion warm, but never hot. And every night, I slept in the guest room, with the door closed. She stopped asking about it after the third night. Stopped leaving the door open for me. Stopped placing my toothbrush back in the master bathroom. Like part of her finally understood this wasn't a phase. This was groundwork. One night she came into the room holding an old photo album. "You remember this?" she asked. Her voice was soft. Too soft. Like she was talking to a version of me that was already gone. It was from our second year together. Vacations. Birthdays. Laughter frozen in pixels. I nodded. "Yeah, I remember." She smiled. "You used to look at me like I was everything." I didn't respond. Because the silence was heavier than the truth. And some truths? They don't need words to echo. She sat beside me. Close enough to feel her breath. Close enough to smell the wine she was using as courage. "I miss that," she whispered. "I miss us." I looked at her. But not through the eyes of a man trying to salvage something. Through the eyes of a man cataloging his last memories in a burning house. "Do you miss me?" I asked. "Or do you miss being wanted?" She blinked. That hit. Because she didn't want me. She wanted me to want her. There's a difference. The next morning, she made pancakes. Whipped cream. Berries. My favorite. She placed the plate in front of me like a peace offering. "Thought we could sit down and talk today," she said. "Maybe go out. Do something. Just us." I nodded. Took a bite. Chewed slowly. Then said, "I've got plans." "With who?" "Just plans." And just like that, her hands tightened around her coffee mug. Not violently. Just enough to show the heat was finally getting through. I finished the pancakes. Left the plate in the sink. Didn't kiss her goodbye. And that was the start of her unraveling. Not because I raised my voice. Not because I slammed the door. But because I didn't. Because the man she used to control with charm and memories was no longer sitting at the table. It was Thursday. The kind of gray, forgettable day that doesn't make it into stories. Until it does. I came home earlier than usual. No warning. No text. Just walked in. Quietly. She didn't hear the door. Didn't hear my keys hit the bowl. Because she was down the hall. In our bedroom. Door cracked just enough to let the words slip through like smoke. I didn't intend to eavesdrop. But when you hear your own name, you stop walking. "He's been weird lately," she said, her voice low, too careful. Distant. Cold. Like he knows something but won't say it. A pause. Silence. Then a male voice. Not loud. Not clear. But close enough to recognize it wasn't family. "You think he knows?" he asked. Not even trying to hide the intimacy in his tone. "I don't know," she said. "But I can't risk it. Not yet. Not yet." That phrase. It sat in my chest like a brick. Not, "I'm ending it." Not, "This is wrong." Just, delay. Strategy. I stepped back. Quiet. Careful. Grabbed a water bottle from the kitchen like I had just walked in. Loudly this time. A beat later, she appeared. Smiling. Hair tucked. Shirt untucked. Too casual to be innocent. "Hey, I didn't hear you come in." I nodded. "Yeah, I was just grabbing a drink." Long day. The longest. She walked up. Kissed my cheek. I didn't flinch. Didn't lean in. Because I was done giving her signs she still had access. That night, she asked if I wanted to watch something together. Old show. One we used to love. I said sure. Sat beside her. Let her lean on me. And all the while, I was planning. Not revenge. Not some loud scene. An exit. Clean. Quiet. Final. The next morning, I checked her phone bill. Again. Same number. Same times. She had been careful. Deleted messages. Used apps that don't leave traces. But she forgot one thing. Voice calls leave footprints. I traced the number. Pulled up his name. Ethan. Of course it was Ethan. Corporate gym guy with just enough charm to mistake narcissism for confidence. I didn't hate him. Didn't blame him. Men like him don't steal women. They wait until the ones they want give themselves away. And mine? She'd been wrapped with a vow since the night she laughed at that party. That weekend, she said she was going to yoga. Again. Same purse. Same lipstick. No yoga mat. She kissed my cheek on her way out. Said, "Love you." I smiled. "Me too." She left. And 5 minutes later, I opened my laptop. AirTag app. Still pinging. Still working. She wasn't headed to yoga. She was going to Ethan. And I wasn't going to follow. Not in person. Because next time she lies to my face, I'll be ready to answer it. With proof. She thought she was alone. She wasn't. And that photo? It said more than she ever did. I made the call that night. No rage. No emotion. Just a question. You discreet. The voice on the other end didn't hesitate. Always. He wasn't cheap. Good ones never are. But I wasn't buying drama. I was buying peace. The kind that comes when truth is undeniable. Her name's Amanda. Drives a gray Civic. Leaves every Saturday around 10. Same address every time. He didn't ask questions. Just said, "Give me a week. You'll have everything." And I did. Saturday came. She left like clockwork. Lipstick just a touch bolder. Top just a little tighter. "Yoga class," she said. I kissed her cheek. She smiled. That was the last time she ever smiled without consequence. Because what she didn't know, someone else was watching. From a distance. A long lens. Steady hands. Not invasive. Not crude. Just accurate. She parked. Buzzed in. Waited 3 seconds. He opened the door. Him. Same guy from the phone. Same gym energy swagger you can smell through a screen. He didn't hug her. He grabbed her waist. Pulled her in like he paid rent on her silence. And that told me everything. They didn't kiss like people in danger. They kissed like people who thought danger was gone. That's what made the photos sting. Not what they showed, but how careless it all was. Sunday evening, the folder arrived. Plain brown envelope. No return label. Just wait. I opened it in the garage. Didn't bring it inside. Didn't need to. 7 photos. That's all. One of her walking in. One of them grabbing her waist. One of them at the window. Laughing. Not like they were hiding. Like they had already rewritten the rules. And I just wasn't in the new version. But the worst one? The one where she leaned her head on his chest. Eyes closed. At peace. The kind of peace she hadn't had near me in years. That was when I knew. She didn't just cheat on me. She replaced me. Quietly. Strategically. Without flinching. I didn't yell. I didn't storm inside. I walked upstairs. Brushed my teeth. Slept like I hadn't in months. Because knowing the truth? That wasn't the end. It was just the first nail in the coffin she didn't know she built. She poured my favorite wine. Cooked my favorite meal. Told me she missed us. And I just smiled. Because I already had the proof. That Monday night, she set the table for 2. Candles. Music. The same playlist she hadn't touched since our 3rd anniversary. She wore that navy blue dress. The one I used to love. The one that now felt like a performance costume. Dinner, she asked, trying to sound casual. I nodded. Sure. She served pasta. Homemade. Garlic bread on the side. Even that overpriced bottle of Pinot I used to grab on special occasions. She was trying. But not for me. For the illusion. Because when people feel their power slipping, they don't apologize. They act. So she started, pouring herself a glass. How's work been? I met her eyes. Held them a second too long. Steady. Quiet. She nodded, taking a sip. Good. You seem better lately. More present. Yeah, I said. Clarity does that to a man. She paused. Froze. Only for a heartbeat. Then kept eating. I didn't bring up Saturday. I didn't mention the photos. Or the private investigator. Or how she'd kissed him with the same mouth that told me, I love you 2 nights earlier. No. I let her talk. Let her tell me about Rachel's new guy. About work stress. About how she was thinking about us more lately. I nodded. Chewed. Drank my wine. And watched her. Not just her words. Her fingers. Her tone. The way she crossed her legs and tilted her head. Just slightly. Like she used to when she was hiding something in plain sight. Then she leaned in. I was thinking we should take a weekend away. Just us. Like before. I met her gaze again. Yeah? Where? Anywhere, she smiled. Cabin, maybe. Someplace quiet. Quiet. Funny choice of word. Because everything she said, everything she was building that night, was just noise. Noise to drown out what I already knew. You sure you're free next weekend? I asked. Of course, she said quickly. Too quickly. I smiled. You sure Ethan doesn't have plans? Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Silence. Not the kind you fill. The kind that swallows. Her eyes flicked to mine. What? I said, Ethan. You sure he's not expecting you? She blinked. Slow. Heavy. Who's Ethan? I leaned back. Wiped my mouth. Took another sip of wine. You know who? She dropped the fork. Clink. Then the stammering began. Wait, what is this? Why are you? I raised a hand. You don't have to lie. Not anymore. She opened her mouth. Closed it again. There it was ill. The look. Not guilt. Panic. Because now she knew I wasn't guessing. I was choosing. And what I chose was the end. She opened her mouth to explain. I gave her all the time in the world. Because nothing reveals more than the lies people tell when they think they still have a chance. Wait, she said again. But this time it cracked. Thin, uncertain. I don't know what you think you know. I didn't answer. Not yet. Because this was important. Letting her twist in her own words. Letting her reveal how deep the hole went. She stood from the table, nervous now. Pacing. Fingers clutching the edge of her dress like it could anchor her to something real. I swear, if someone said something, if this is about Rachel or some stupid rumor. I stayed seated. Calm. Rachel didn't tell me anything. Her voice wavered. Then what is this? Are you accusing me of something? No, I said, meeting her eyes. I'm confirming it. She laughed. Not a real laugh. A defense mechanism. A reflex. You're being ridiculous. She stepped closer, reaching out. I love you. You know that. I've been trying. I pulled my phone from my pocket. Tapped the screen. Set it face up on the table. The screen lit up. Photos. Her. Him. Hand in hand. Outside Ethan's condo. At the cafe she once said reminded her of us. That same look in her eyes. The one she used to give me. She froze. Dead still. And for once, she didn't say a word. I let the silence stretch. Let it bloom between us like a field of broken promises. Then I spoke. I know about the texts. The AirTag in your sunglasses. The calls at night. I know about 12C. About the Thursday when you told him I didn't suspect a thing. She started to tremble. Please. I didn't mean. That's the problem, I said. You meant it. Every time. She dropped into the chair across from me, defeated. I messed up. I know I did. But we can fix this. I cut her off. No. She blinked. What? We're not fixing anything. You broke it. Then buried it. Then tried to decorate the grave with spaghetti and wine. She started to cry. Tears down her cheeks. Mascara in soft rivers. Hands shaking on the table. But me? I didn't feel triumph. I felt done. Cold. Clarity has no temperature. It just sharpens. Why didn't you say anything before? She asked through the tears. I stood. Because I wanted to see how far you'd go, while thinking I was still asleep. I looked down at her. You mistook silence for blindness. And then I walked out of the room. Let her sit in it. Alone. Where every lie echoed louder than any scream ever could. You don't leave the moment you pack your things. You leave when your silence becomes louder than her lies. And mine was already screaming. That night, I didn't say another word. She stood in the kitchen, still crying. Still hoping I'd crack. Raise my voice. Accuse her. Give her something to fight against. But I didn't. Because she was ready for a war. Not an evacuation. I went to the guest room. Closed the door quietly. No slam. No final words. Just the sound of a man choosing peace over performance. And that's what cut her deeper. Because people like her only know how to control chaos. Not silence. The next morning, she knocked. Soft. Twice. I didn't answer. She waited. Then walked away. I heard her open the fridge. Her coffee. Sit alone at the kitchen table we used to share. I didn't join. I just stared at the ceiling, letting the stillness do the talking. Later that day, she texted me from the other room. Can we talk when you're ready? I read it. Didn't reply. Because when you've already left, what's there to discuss? Over the next 3 days, I started the slowest move out in history. Not physically. Emotionally. Digitally. Legally. Step by step. Account by account. Thread by thread. I unraveled everything. Quietly. Systematically. Without ever raising my voice. Because I wasn't interested in justice. I was interested in escape. She tried to pretend we were okay. Started making dinner again. Played old playlists. Lit candles. Wore the robe she knew I used to love. But I didn't take the bait. Because I wasn't trying to fix anything. I was just watching her perform. in a play she didn't realize had closed 3 acts ago. One night, she brought up therapy. I think we should talk to someone. A professional. Just to, work through things. I sipped my water, set the glass down, and said, I don't want to fix a performance. I want to leave the stage. Her face felt like a curtain dropping on a scene she wasn't ready to end. She slept alone that night, and every night after that. But I didn't sleep alone. I slept with peace. And for the first time in years, I didn't wake up wondering what version of her I'd meet in the morning. Because I already knew. She was the same person who laughed at betrayal, called it a joke, looked me in the eyes, and chose someone else with a smile. The scariest goodbye is the one you don't hear coming. She thought we were healing. I was already halfway out. By the end of that week, she was smiling more, making small talk over dinner, asking about my day, brushing my arm as she walked past like we were flirting in college again. She thought the storm had passed. She thought silence meant peace. But the thing about silence? It's not always forgiveness. Sometimes it's just the sound of a man walking away without moving his feet. She started planning things again. Should we visit your mom next month? I was thinking we could redo the patio. There's a show in town Friday. I'll grab tickets. I nodded, smiled, gave her just enough. Because I didn't want to raise suspicion. I wanted space. Space to finish what I started. That weekend, while she was out, I emptied the safe. Passport, birth certificate, old watch from my father, flash drive labeled, exit plan. I boxed them carefully, not rushed, not emotional. Because by now, my goodbye wasn't an event. It was a process. Later that day, she came home with groceries. Thought we could cook together, she said, holding up pasta and red wine like peace offerings. Sure, I said, but in my head, I was already counting how many shirts I had left to pack. After dinner, she sat beside me on the couch, head against my shoulder, wine in hand. We're gonna be okay, right? She whispered. And here's the part that'll haunt her more than anything. I nodded, didn't say a word, because silence, when delivered at the right time, hurts louder than honesty ever could. The next morning, I booked the moving truck. 1-bedroom unit. New zip code. No shared walls. No shared history. Just me and a blank space. I waited until she had yoga. Same class she'd used as her alibi a dozen times. She left in a rush. Didn't kiss me goodbye. Didn't know it would be the last time she'd ever see me at the door. I moved fast. Not out of panic. Out of preparation. Because if you want to vanish clean, you don't hesitate. You execute. When she came home, the house was still full. Couch. Dishes. Her shoes by the door. But something vital was missing. Me. My presence. My scent. My weight in the room. She didn't feel it at first. Not until she walked into the bedroom and saw one toothbrush on the table next to her wine glass from the night before. A simple note. You didn't lose me. You gave me away. Nothing more. No signature. No anger. No explanation. Because she didn't deserve closure. She deserved the silence she laughed over. She cried when she realized I was gone. But I didn't leave when she cried. I left when she laughed. And looked me in the eyes like I didn't exist. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for her to truly feel it. The stillness. The unanswered texts. The cold bed. The echo in the kitchen when no one poured her a second cup of coffee. She kept telling people it was just a phase. He's decompressing. He just needs space. We're fine. But silence doesn't lie. And the absence I left behind was louder than any excuse she could spin. Mutual friends started calling. She's not okay. She's asking about you. She says she made a mistake. I thanked them. Told them I was okay. Told them she'd be fine. Because the truth? She wasn't asking out of love. She was asking because the control was gone. And people like her? They don't panic when they lose a man. They panic when they lose the grip. One night, she showed up outside my new apartment. Didn't knock. Just stood there. Hair pulled back. Eyes swollen. Phone clutched like a lifeline. When I opened the door, she didn't speak. Just stared at me, like she was searching for the version of me she used to own. But I was gone. Not angry. Not bitter. Just gone. I miss you, she said. I nodded. I don't blame you. I was good. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't think you'd really leave. That's the problem, I said. You didn't think at all. She reached out, one final move. But I stepped back. I begged for your attention. You gave it to another man. Now you're begging for mine? Too late. She broke. Right there on my doorstep. But I didn't comfort her, because her pain now was a mirror of mine. Back then, when I sat at the kitchen table with a fork in hand and a heart full of silence, I closed the door gently, didn't slam it, didn't say goodbye, just closed it. Because she didn't deserve a dramatic ending. She deserved a quiet one. The same kind she gave me when she laughed at that party, looked at me like I was invisible, and said, "Too late." Now? Now it really is. She told a joke in a room full of people, but the punchline was her life. Because when you mock a man's loyalty, don't be surprised when he disappears before the credits roll. I didn't leave to hurt her. I left to find myself. And I did. Not in revenge. Not in a new woman's arms. But in peace. In truth. In silence. And now? I'm louder than I've ever been. Real men don't explode. They exit. Subscribe for more power stories.